there's a lot of harmful electromagnetic fields. There's only a very small spectrum of healthy and very good EMFs. That's a healthy electromagnetic fields.
Mm-hmm.
But all the others can harm our DNA.
Yeah.
And especially when you go into the higher range, like the 4G and the 5G, and then you have long-term exposure to that, it will change our DNA. And you can find that online. Okay, I cannot remember my resources, but there's been studies about that. Okay, so our brains, okay, they function at wavelengths of approximately 7 hertz to 33 hertz. Okay, that's the speed of our brain. And the speed of the Earth, it's called the Schumann resonance.
Mm-hmm.
They send out from the Earth frequencies of 7.8 to 33.8 hertz. So it's no accident that because we came out of the ground,
Okay.
Sure.
that we would function in a resonance with the Earth.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
So in order to be really maintain our health and be healthy, we were created to function in that range. Okay. So that's approximately 7 to 33 hertz.
Okay. I don't want to interrupt you on this because where you're going, but does that tie back into grounding?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was
cool.
keep rolling with that too. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So keep going.
So that's why we want to ground.
Yeah.
But in any case, all the harmful EMFs that we're surrounded with, computers, cell phones, Wi-Fi's, smart meters, radio frequencies, satellites,
everything up. Yeah,
the
cars. We have a Tesla, so it's like
everything. They range in microwaves in the hundreds to millions of seconds of hertz. Okay, so think about all these invisible waves hitting your brain at hundreds and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of speed when your brain wants to be only at 7 to 33 hertz. Okay, and when that happens, then your body accumulates harmful ions, okay, that is inflammatory to the body. Then when you connect to the ground, the earth, by hiking or being on the beach or sitting on the ground or hugging a tree or whatever, then the ground and the trees and the earth will actually absorb those harmful ions out of the body. And then you spontaneously detoxify. And then that's why then some people, when they're out in nature, they feel this relief.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they're no longer in the sympathetic nervous system overdrive because now those harmful ions are being absorbed and they're eliminating out of the body, and your body relaxes.
So this may be overly simplifying this, but are EMFs particularly a problem at their core because they're disrupting our natural wavelengths?
We can simplify it that way.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so aside from grounding and just distance away from all these things, what are other things that we can put into place? And I'm mainly asking this. I feel like I'm around EMFs constantly.
Yeah.
I'm at a computer a lot. I drive a Tesla. I've got a lot working against me. So aside from grounding, aside from just being outside, what are other things? I know my parents bought me a Vitaset generator.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea what this thing is or what it does.
But please, Vitaset generator
by all
is.
means.
A Vitaset generator comes from Pulse Technologies out of Romania. So it emits Schumann resonating frequencies, 7 to 33 hertz. But then the technology behind that too is that on the day mode, it'll emit the frequencies for the brain to function at a beta, at the beta and and the gamma speed.
Okay.
Now, when you put it on the night mode, then it starts to slow down, and it goes down from those speeds down to theta wave state and the delta alpha. It goes to alpha, theta, and delta. What that means is that the alpha state is kind of like when your brain slows down and you're in that meditative state. The theta state is when your brain slows down even more so, and you're kind of in this hypnotic awake sleep state.
Okay.
The delta state is when your brain slows down so much, it goes into a deep, deep, deep sleep. And that's around 0.3 or 0.2 hertz to about, maybe 2 or 3 hertz. So it's very difficult for our brains to slow down that much when we're have an onslaught of these high electromagnetic fields surrounding us.
Okay, gotcha.
So what the VitaSet generator is doing is it's helping the brain slow down. Now, it's not blocking the electromagnetic fields. So let me explain what it's doing or how it knows to synchronize with that. It's a law of synchronization. But let's say if you put like 2 pendulum clocks in the same room, but they weren't synchronized together, but within moments they'll start to synchronize exactly.
Right. And then get out of touch a little bit, right?
Yes. And then they'll just start synchronizing exactly to each other within a very short period of time. Well, what our brain does is it wants to connect to something.
Okay.
Some waveforms that are slower. So when it recognizes the slower frequencies that's coming out of the VitaSet generator, it slowly stair steps down slower and slower and slower to start to then synchronize with that. When the brain then slows down, then it helps the body to spontaneously detoxify. It helps relax the central nervous system and slow down also that sympathetic nervous system overdrive as well. So unlike so many other claims of things that block EMF, this isn't blocking. It is sending out ground resonating Schumann resonating frequencies for our brains to sync with.
Do you think there's any danger in, or not even danger, but is there anything problematic about creating artificial Schumann frequencies? Is there, I mean, if it's doing the same thing.
They did that actually with astronauts.
Okay.
But what
nothing to worry about.
What is this machine though? You wear it?
It's this little flat thing.
It's right here.
Right here
on screen. This is it right there. Yeah.
Put it in your pocket?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we
so
just
$700 for this thing,
put it on
which is
a
crazy.
nightstand.
Yeah. And we
it just goes on a nightstand.
You don't carry it around with you throughout the day?
No.
Actually,
tape it to your hat.
We sell that in the office, but then they're actually working on getting something that that a person could carry and wear.
I think that's really cool.
Because that's what they're
beneficial.
Yeah, that's what they're working on. But you have it in your home. I have one in my house. I have one in my office. Okay.
The problem with EMF stuff is it's so hard to quantify if that headache that just keeps coming back. But it is. But like, I mean, even with like this stuff, like I feel like I sleep better knowing that it's there. But at the end of the day, it's like, is that headache from me not eating or not having enough caffeine, or is it related to
you have to really the difference between maybe a feeling of that? Because my wife literally texted me yesterday when we were filming. She's like, "Tell me why 4 of us at the hair salon have had headaches for the past 3 days. What in the EMF?"
You know what? It could be the EMF. It could be the chemicals.
Yeah.
It's probably a combination of things.
It's an onslaught of so many things that we have to deal with.
Like every day by breathing, by drinking water, by eating certain foods, by being
plastics, chemicals, the standard American diet.
I legitimately feel like everything around us just slowly works against us. There's just so much push against us.
Well, how often should one ground? And for how long? If I'm going to go out and hug a tree today, how long am I doing it?
I would say a minimum of 12 minutes.
Do it for 45 minutes.
45 minutes?
That's how long it takes your body to cycle blood, right? So 12 minutes is how long it takes your heart to pump out and cycle blood throughout the entire body.
So you do that once a day, twice a day.
I don't think it's enough, but I try to do a minimum of 12 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say if you can do it every day, that's ideal, but it's hard to do that, I guess, when it's 100 degrees outside or if it's 20 degrees outside. But you can, you can do it though. Just bundle up or strip down.
What about like a grounding mat or grounding sheets?
Okay. I actually liked that many years ago, but before they got the smart meters in. But when you plug it into the wall and you've got a smart meter that's sending out these electrical frequencies through the outlet every few seconds, by principle, you're not really truly grounding unless you connect that grounding sheet with the wire and have it outside your window and put the metal and stick the metal rod into the ground by a tree. Then that would be helpful.
So that might be what I end up. So we bought grounding sheets, and the first night that I slept on them, loved everything about it. Like I just felt we both had the deepest night's sleep that we've had in years. But you are plugging into the ground unit in an outlet. And so there is concern of having a little bit of electrical, overlap there, right? Mm-hmm. So but if we can throw that out the window and just like bury it in the ground.
Yeah, just stick that metal rod into the ground would be more ideal.
Okay. Well, the first time that I've ever heard about grounding was years ago, and I was reading something about the samurais, and the samurais would do the earthing or the grounding. And
really?
Yeah. I can't remember where I read it.
Yeah.
But they would take their shirt off and they would take their shoes off and they'd go outside, stand on the grass and in the sun. Mm-hmm. And they would do this like every day.
Interesting.
That was the first time I was introduced
Smart
to
guys. Smart samurais.
They were doing it a long time ago, yeah. But
what about, is there dangers in too much grounding? Like, is that a thing? No?
No, unless
8 hours on the sheets is okay?
No, there's no dangers in too much grounding. In other words, there's no danger in being outside too much unless you're out in the sun on the beach for 8 hours and you burn yourself like a lobster.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah. So, you know what? Since you're asking about the frequencies and the EMFs, there's something that I do believe that people need to know because when I was studying the 5G years ago, before it really got out in public, mm-hmm. I thought there's nothing that's going to be good enough to protect us. We can do what we were talking about in the grounding. We can say cover the Wi-Fi box or put the Wi-Fi so it's not a Wi-Fi, but it's the Ethernet thing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or we can cover our cell phones in a go dark bag or something like that, so it's not emitting those EMFs. We can do all of that, but then we can't control the radio frequencies. Mm-hmm. We can't control the satellites. We can't control, going to work. We can't control. I mean, there's so much that we cannot control.
Right. Yeah.
So, I was thinking then more about frequencies, and Tesla said, if you want to know the secret of the universe, it's about energy, light, and frequencies. The healthy part.
Okay.
The universe, not about machines, about the car, but the creation, It's about the energy, light, and frequencies. Albert Einstein also said it's about frequencies, and it's about energy. And about the law of physics, He wasn't talking about medicine. He was talking about frequencies and energy and physics. And then Dr. Fritz Popp, Alfred Fritz Popp. He was a German physicist and medical doctor. Mm-hmm. And he also said that we are actually beings of light and if we focus on if we understand the electrical system in the body, it's the electrical system in our body that affects our biology and our chemistry. Okay. But if all we do is treat the chemical systems and our biological systems in the body and ignore what's hitting us and what's going on with our electrical system, then we're not getting real true wellness and healing. So you've got these genius people, Tesla and Einstein and Alfred Fritz Pop, talking about energy medicine, okay, and frequencies and light. And then there was another neuroscientist that said in the law of physics, your thoughts creates higher frequencies.
Frequencies, right?
Or
right.
it can create low frequencies.
Right.
Okay.
We were talking about that with John
yesterday.
yesterday.
Positive thoughts like love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faith, gentleness, and all that. If you focus on those those positive thoughts, you will raise the vibrational frequencies in your own body.
Have you read that book, Power versus Force?
Oh, I read that many, many years ago, and I'm going to tell you that has that. I agree.
Because Dr. Ganino was on yesterday, and we were talking about that. And that
he walked us through all that. It's really interesting.
Yeah,
it's really interesting.
So I agree with that. So then, if you meditate on that, then you increase your vibrational frequency and energy in your body. Okay, and then versus the negative thoughts such as anger and all and bad reports and despair.
Fear, I think was one too.
And all of that. So then I thought, well, then that means what God said. Think on those things that are true.
I know.
And
I love
honest
it. Right?
and pure and of good report.
Right.
And of virtue and praiseworthy. He said, think on those things because he knew this law of physics.
He knew how that affects you.
Exactly.
Right.
And then, so if you believe that he said, fear not, for I am your shield and your great reward, and you think on that, it raises your vibrational frequency.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so really the principle, his God's spiritual principle really is aligned with, or actually I'm going to say Tesla and Einstein and all these geniuses in the past. They actually align with his spiritual principles. Yeah. And I mean, it's so as old as the hills that what we hear neuroscientists say, it's nothing new. It's old. I mean, it's as old as God.
Yeah. The EMF and Bluetooth thing is so difficult because you have people like Elon Musk. I don't know if you watch it, but Elon was on Joe Rogan a while ago, and Joe Rogan asked him about the effects of, Bluetooth and EMF radiation and all that. And Elon blew it off and he says, I would put cell phones on my genitals all day long and I wouldn't worry about a thing. So you have guys like that who are like so wrapped up in this field industry saying that. And it's like,
as much as I like the guy, that I'm not doing that.
Let's say, I don't know.
Don't recommend.
I wouldn't recommend that. But Elon Musk is a genius.
No, he is. He is. He's a crazy smart guy.
If he says there's something wrong with it, his shares take a dump.
Yeah, no.
Right?
Of course.
Totally.
Yes.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, he's got things at stake, what?
Based on what I just said, if he lives in a state of this high vibrational frequency of positivity and all of that, and you know who you are and what the power that's in you, that is such a higher vibrational frequency than any 5G out there. Because, if you stay in
that's
that,
a good point.
If you stay in that, that is a shield. Okay. And that is what these neuroscientists are talking about. I believe that's what Tesla's talking about. I believe that's what Einstein was talking about. It has to do with us becoming aware of the power of our thoughts, imaginations, and our feelings, because what we think and what we imagine, it affects our feelings and our emotions. When our emotions then are affected, it's going to affect our physical body, and it's going to create a low frequency and voltage in our cells, the molecules, the atoms, the electrons in our body, create inflammation.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll do all that, but it starts with what you believe, what you think, and then that affects how you feel, what your emotions are, and then whatever your emotions are is going to affect the physical body.
Amen.
Preach.
We'll take it a step further and say, with also what you say, right? Not only what you think, but also with what you say. There's power in the tongue, right? As the Bible says. So the tongue has power, right?
100%.
It can kill, it can hurt, and it can also give life and love.
Yeah.
So think about that, right? We were just talking about this the other day. What was it? We're talking about frequencies, but was
it you and me and Katie and Britt?
Yeah, we were talking about.
I think speaking to people negatively versus positively.
Well, it was something with water, or and also with plants.
Oh, there was something that we talked about.
Talking positive things.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that, because that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, there was. In fact, I think it was a Russian test. It was decades ago. I think you can look it up online somewhere and find it. It's called singing plants.
Okay.
Someone attached these wires to different plants and connected it to like a sounding board, pumped up the volume. I'm simplifying it. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Pump up the volume, and they could hear the frequencies, and they could hear the frequencies of the plants.
Whoa.
That's awesome.
It was audible.
Cool.
Here you go, Evan.
That's awesome.
Although not audible to the human ear, the secret voices of plants have revealed that cucumbers scream when they are sick and flowers whine when their leaves are cut.
Wow.
Whoa.
Well, you think about that too, because wasn't there, Brett, can you see which...
And the trees clap their hands.
Wow. Can you see can you see what experiment it was where they... somebody had done an experiment and they talked positive words to a plant, and then it grew and blossomed, and then they spoke negative words to it, and it never grew and it died.
Yeah.
I just want to say that also should show us that if we have the power of words like that, think of the power that's in us.
Ooh, that's a really
we
good
have
point.
The creative power.
Yeah, to bring something up or down.
Yes, to bring something up, to bring that vibrational frequency up or bring it down. Yeah. That's why we have that creative power to speak, bring someone up or bring them down.
Yeah.
And that's why what Tesla said, what Einstein said, what Fritz Popp, that also aligns with God's spiritual principle.
Absolutely,
it's really quite amazing.
Well, there's power. There's power in the tongue, and as you know, as the scripture says, it's not what goes into a man's mouth that defiles him, but it was what comes out of his mouth.
So look at this real quick. Right. So it says, in a Mythbusters experiment involving 7 plants, 2 received positive speech, 2 received negative speech, 1 listened to classical music, another to death metal, and the last one was left in silence. The plant left in silence fared the worst. Surprisingly, the one to flourish the most was the plant listening to death metal.
Right, this is not a good. This is Mythbusters. We're not going to take this.
That's not science.
Yeah, come on.
That's hilarious.
But I am curious. What was it? Megadeth? Was it?
There you go. Right
Pantera?
Here. This is from The Guardian. They respond to vibrations. After a year at home with her orchid, Sitha Dodd was rewarded with a large spray of blooms. Could her words of encouragement have played a part? So that's from The Guardian 3 years ago.
And I mean, other than other things that you can find online, you can actually find other research.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not just articles or whatever like this, but actual research that was done.
Yeah.
And so
scientific research that was done on this. Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's talk a little bit about vibrational healing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
How does this work?
Well, very similarly to what I said, but then using vibrational healing. I mean, there's so what I use in the office is frequency healing, light healing, because that's vibrational, color therapy, that's vibrational, because they all send out vibrational, different waveforms, different wavelengths. Okay. Colors are different wavelengths. So that's why you see different colors. Okay. Sounds therapy is also different wavelengths. So then sound therapy is vibrational. Okay. Actually, everything is vibrational.
Right.
So then homeopathy and the laser therapy that we use, that's all vibrational too. But then it's a matter of, something that Einstein said. I'm going to link this together.
Yeah, sure. Bring it home for us.
If you have the same, the frequency that you vibrate with will attract like frequencies and attract what you want, the same frequency that you want. So that goes along with what I do in the office. The frequency of, say, of the homeopathic number or the homeopathic toxin is like the toxin itself. It vibrates with that to create a reaction or a response. Okay. Like resonates with like. Okay. Just like our thoughts, just like what Einstein said.
Yeah.
Okay. He's really amazing.
Yeah. So Mark, if you start carrying that VitaSet generator around, you're going to start attracting all kinds of ladies on the regular frequency that you're, you're emitting.
Now, I want to just say, too, that some people, though, with that VitaSet generator, I've had to be cautious because if they were in extreme inflammation, okay, if their body starts to spontaneously detox too much or too quickly, but their liver was already overloaded and congested, their lymphatic system was already congested, then they could actually feel worse because there was no room and there was no path for those toxins that got shook up
interesting.
To escape out of the
okay,
interesting. Organs, such as the liver,
if they don't sweat, interesting.
So
you kind of need to like throttle that a bit, right?
Okay. Yes. So whenever someone buys one from us, I know like what their comorbidity is, what their health status is, and then I may ease them into it. But if I know if it's somebody kind of your typical, healthy person, pedestrian, then I'll just say, okay, plug it in, wherever. Also, the closer it is in proximity to you, the more intense the frequency is versus when it's further away, it's very subtle. So some people will do, if they're really fragile, they do better with it, with just a subtle energy of that because then their body slowly acclimates to it.
Do you want it to be, sorry, Mark, do you want it to be closer to a source, like for instance, like closer to like a Wi-Fi router, closer to a computer that you're kind of always on to mitigate signals,
or a bedroom where you're,
or a bedroom,
Actually, two different questions. If it's in your computer room or your work room, that is better because while you're working, then and your brain is on, then your brain can synchronize with that. It'll recognize and synchronize with it faster. Now, but if it's in the bedroom and you don't have the health issues that I just spoke of, then if it's in the bedroom, then your brain will slow down and it'll synchronize with that. So what it does too is it helps a person dream more too. It could help them dream more because people who don't get their brains are going so fast and it doesn't slow down slow enough to get into that REM state of sleep, then they don't dream in. The brain needs to dream in order to, it's brain dreaming or dreaming is the brain's way of its own way of detoxing.
Okay. That's interesting because I don't really like to dream.
Yeah. Because you're the first part of sleep is the physical repair to your body, right? And then when you get to that REM sleep, that's the mental repair in your ability to deal with emotions and stress and things like that.
Yes. And the delta state of sleep is like rest. I mean, your brain is like almost comatose. That's when some people, when they go into a delta state of sleep, it's like you can hardly wake them up.
Oh, yeah.
But then there's Harvard did this study, but person's healthy state of sleep is it goes through about 5 cycles. So it goes from delta, REM, theta, REM, delta, delta, REM, theta, REM, delta. So it's going
like that
up.
level 4.
It's a wave, basically.
It's going through waves, cycles of waves, about approximately five different cycles.
Okay.
So in other words, you're going from your brain goes from a really deep comatose like sleep, and then to the REM dream state of sleep, and then to the theta state, which would be kind of like that hypnotic, sleep wake phase, and then it goes back down to an REM state, dream state, and then goes back down to a really deep state, and then it goes back down to a little REM. So it goes through those cycles and all that, and that's the healthy. Those are just healthy stages of sleep, and that Vitaset generator actually does that.
You have to give me one of those. So let me ask you this, okay? One goes on the path to start being conscious of frequencies and detoxing. But when you get away from that, you get away from your machine, you're maybe on vacation, you're not grounding, or you're just too busy and you can't stop. Do you feel worse? Like, can you feel the effect of it coming back on? If you're not able to proactively keep it at bay, the frequencies.
Oh, yes and no. Yes, in that if I'm under stress.
Right, because who's not under stress, right?
Yeah, and if, there's my mind is full of all this junk and stuff like that, yes. But when you learn to be in a state of meditation, of knowing the God frequencies,
nice.
Such as think on those things that are true, honest, pure,
yes,
of good report, of things of virtue, and that's praiseworthy. Fear not, because God is your shield.
Amen.
You start, when those words aren't just in the head, but it sinks deep in you, that it becomes part of your state of being.
And you emit that as well at that point, right?
Then you'll emit it, but that is what carries you through the stress.
Okay.
That's the goal, right?
That's
where you want to be.
That's the whole message of this show
right
here. That was it. Boom.
Goal. Okay. Because like I said, when I knew, I don't want to sound too religious, but when I knew that there's going to be such an onslaught of attacks in our environment, and that 5G was coming, I literally, because I knew about all this before, I said, God, this is way too much. There's got to be a better answer. And that's when all this formulated.
Just the revelations that you had. That's amazing.
That's when I got
important.
That's when I got it, because that is the state of being that we have to live in, because that's our only certainty. Everything else comes and goes, like you just mentioned. Okay.
Yeah.
And we can do the practical things. I mean, let's not be foolish.
Right.
Do what we know practically. But that's not our certainty. That's not our lifeline. Our lifeline is what I just mentioned. It's like what God said. And just like, Elon Musk may be a Tesla who he must be, because he understands frequency and energy.
Yeah, sure.
So his voltage in his body and his
is probably elevated.
And high level of frequency in his daily life is probably a lot higher than most people's.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, absolutely. Like this show right here, you can't deny some things, and there's no coincidence. Okay. The vibe is real.
Yep.
And that is this. that God created the universe. Man was created from the earth. There's not a coincidence that the frequencies from the earth and then in the body are the exact same, like what you said. And that, if anything, you could always, no matter how busy you are or how stressed you are, have the principles of what you just said, slow down, focus on the truths.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Because we talked about this yesterday when we were talking about with Dr. Nino. The two greatest commandments, the whole Torah and Tanakh, the whole Old and New Testament, everything hangs on these two commands. Love your God, love your neighbor.
Yep.
Love, positivity, truth.
It's really cool to see whenever you see a spiritual principle, when you can kind of trace it to a truth, medical truth, or this truth about vibrations, frequencies, and you can actually like tangibly see, hey, this is a real thing. This is why he tells us to do these things.
Exactly.
It's really, really cool.
It's real.
Yeah.
And it's cool. Like I said, I mean, all these geniuses, what they're saying, it's nothing new.
No, it's nothing new at all.
It's
nothing new.
It's old as God. It's as old as God.
What does it say?
And what I love too is I think that we're coming upon an awakening, hopefully.
Yeah.
And
I think so.
Because as we are learning more about frequencies and vibration and energy, and people are becoming more interested in that, it's like exposing God.
Check this out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this says the parable of the sower, which is Matthew 13, 1-23, uses seed dispersal as a metaphor for the distribution of God's word, akin to how frequencies and sound vibrations spread.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool. You can find all kinds of things in there, man. I love that.
Wow.
Dr. Julia, can we talk for a second about maybe a case study or a patient who you've worked with and you've seen some really great results just by using color therapy or sound frequencies or just, frequency healing in general? How has that looked for different ailments?
All right. Well, I'll use, other than my son, I've already talked about him, but he got a lot better. But I have a patient, the one that I can think of, and she was really bad off, and she had Lyme disease, but she was living in Australia. But she had been to a clinic in Switzerland or Germany. I can't Paracelsus, but anyway. And she had been to a physician in the East Coast and in Australia, and she got to a point where she couldn't take anything. If she took an herb, she started having seizures. If she took a supplement, she started having seizures.
Oh my goodness.
So she came to my office and stayed for 4 or 5 weeks.
Wow.
Since I knew that, I didn't have her take any herbs or supplements. Everything was frequency, laser, and laser therapy. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then also the spiritual work too, because that was major, the spiritual work. Okay. Mm-hmm. So she came from being an unbeliever to a believer during that 4 or 5 weeks.
Beautiful.
So anyway, and she got completely well. I mean, I'm going to fast forward 3 years, but she became completely well and leads a normal life and lives just like us after 3 years.
Amen. And it was 3 years of what? Color therapy? 3 years of vibrational, the whole...
3 years of the laser detoxification, and then the homeopathy, the recall healing, and the sound therapy that I do, the frequency machine that I use, and the color therapy. But all of that combined together, and then she eventually then she could do the supplements and the herbs, no problem.
Wow.
So then supplements and herbs, and then you also probably look at diet, right?
Oh yeah,
lifestyle
diet.
changes as far as diet, and then exercise. That's something that you really
exercise is important. I have to do that more of that myself, but the diet is always a big part of it, because food is got its own microRNA and its own protein coding genes.
Okay,
and so if you eat clean food and the right foods, you're getting their microRNA and healthy DNA into your body.
Okay.
Because now I'm getting into epigenetics, because epigenetics is all about the external environment around you and the internal environment. And that's determines whether those genetic SNPs are switched on or whether they're switched off.
So are you in favor of raw veggies versus cooked? Or, I mean, what diets do you normally...
Well, it all depends on the person, because if some people, if they have major gut issues, and also depending upon their level of inflammation in the gut, they can't do raw veggies. Okay. And it depends on the vegetable too, as to whether they have a genetic SNP or sulfation issues as well. What's safe is probably gently cooked vegetables, and then at some point, then people like you and me, then we could do raw juicing and raw vegetables, no problem at all. But a lot of times I get such very sick people who are so highly inflamed that I can't have them do that until later.
Okay. So what's like, well, I guess it sounds like everybody's different. So is there...
Oh, it's very different.
Is there like a certain diet that whenever a patient is... that you recommend that a patient start with, or do's and don'ts?
Oh, yeah. Actually on my website, I have basic food recommendations, a shopping guide.
Yeah, we'll link that.
So, so on my, so the shopping guide is a category of the healthier nuts, the healthier oils, the healthier dairy, the healthier meats. And so that when they go on there, they could take it actually to the grocery store. And if they want to buy some nuts, they're like, I should get, maybe some walnuts instead of the, peanuts full of mycotoxins.
Yeah, right.
If they look at the oils, you can go under search menu of basic foods. And so anyway, it's really everybody's shopping guide. Okay. Fruits, nuts, seeds, grains, beans, potatoes. Choose a colored potato. Choose a colored rices over the white. Okay.
What's the deal with nightshade vegetables?
Why
are those usually a no?
It's not a no for everybody, but if you have gut inflammation, those nightshades, such as the wheat, the corn, the peppers,
isn't also like eggplant and isn't
tomatoes?
Okay,
the eggplant. Those can they just exacerbate the inflammation in the intestines.
Okay,
so it's not that you need to avoid the nightshades forever and ever. You just want to avoid it while as long as your gut is really inflamed and tender.
Gotcha.
Like raw.
Gotcha.
So it could be a good test for people to see if they don't tolerate nightshades. Maybe there's an underlying problem there that they should address.
Exactly.
I want to switch gears real quick. I want to talk about detoxification from frequency therapy. Is there any benefit to detoxing this way, particularly if you deal with a what's it called? Where you have trouble detoxing. What's that called?
The methylation.
Methylation. Yeah. Thank you. Is there anything that does differently rather than a traditional detox with
it does.
supplements? Okay.
Someone who has trouble methylating.
Yeah.
One is what it means is there's this methylation cycle. Okay. That goes like this. So what it just means is that certain amino acids and glutathione, they have trouble metabolizing that in this cycle.
Right.
Okay. And then it also means that they have sulfites and sulfates stuck in that cycle that can't escape and that can't get out. They can't detoxify that.
Okay.
And then it also means too that they have certain chemicals and they have heavy metals stuck in that cycle that's breaking that cycle. Okay. So then they have sulfites and sulfates stuck in there. They have glutathione that their body isn't producing well enough because of that break. And then they have amino acids that they can't break down and metabolize.
Right.
And then they're highly sensitive to a lot of foods and supplements, especially certain amino acids, because the body can't break that down.
Right. And like B vitamin, that as well, right?
Yeah. And then there's different B vitamins. You've got the cyanocobalamin, the methylcobalamin, the hydroxycobalamin, the adenosylcobalamin, or the combination. Then sometimes they certain people with a different methylating, depending upon their genetics, SNPs, sometimes they need the hydroxy, sometimes they need the adenosine, sometimes they need it with the folate, sometimes they can't do the folate yet, sometimes you have to wait. It all depends upon their genetic SNP and what people call the MTHFR, but a lot of people have that now.
Mm-hmm. Like for people at home watching, the basics is that protein is essentially useless. And so the body breaks it down into amino acids to where it can use it. Same thing with folic acid, right? It breaks it down into folate. So people who are gluten intolerant, they can't take folic acid and process it into folate, right? And so that's the problem with the methylation that you're talking about, is like we ingest these foods. That's not how the body uses them. It has to break them down into something else, right? And it's unable to do that.
So
I have that problem, by the way, and that's why I was asking about it. But yeah.
So the body can't do that because of that genetic SNP. Okay,
right.
So when you have that, then you have to start off with one by one detoxing them, and the easiest way, the best way, is with homeopathy and or the frequencies.
Okay.
And actually, that's my niche, is because I find a lot of people who come in and the doctors don't know how to do it systematically.
Yeah.
Okay. They throw them with methylating supplements. Well, they can't handle the methylating supplements and yet because they're so toxic. Well, they're so toxic because of their genetic SNP.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got to open up those detox pathways first. Okay. And then little by little add in the appropriate supplement or methylating supplement, whether it's the methylcobalamin or the folate or a certain amino acid. And then after that, then they can detox of the heavy metals. But it gets really complicated, and we get more and more complex people because more and more people are so sick and more people have so many genetic SNPs. And that takes me to the genetic thing too, because a lot of people come, they're not a lot, but I have a handful of people who come to me saying, oh, I've got the MTHFR. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I already knew that.
I saw
here's
it in
my
your eyes
genetic.
when you walked in the room.
Yeah. I saw it as soon as you walked in.
Yeah.
I can smell it a mile away.
You're right.
But anyway, so they have these genetic panels done that costs hundreds of dollars or whatever. And there's a place for that, okay? Because objectively, it helps people be convinced, oh, they do have a genetic issue. They do have to treat themselves differently. Okay. But the issue that I have also with it is that, and it tells people like their level of sensitivities. Okay. And the level and seriousness of the genetic SNPs and how many they have. And also it determines like their the autophagy that you were speaking of earlier.
Right.
But okay, think of this though. Those genetic panels test for approximately less than 30,000 protein coding genes. But you know how many protein coding genes we actually have though?
How many?
Over 100,000.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
So
it misses a lot.
We're getting just a snippet of the whole picture.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not that I disregard the genetic panels, but I take it with a grain of salt.
Okay.
So then that takes me to the epigenetics. So what's really important is what's going on epigenetically. What is going on in your environment internally?
Okay.
What is your belief system? What is your thought life?
Yeah.
Okay. What is going on externally? Okay. So let's change what's going on internally with the detoxing, the belief system, and things like that, and what you're eating. Okay. Now let's address what's going on externally. Okay. Let's do what we can with the EMFs. Let's do what we can with, maybe the mold and fungus. That's let's do what we can to educate. There's so much education that's needed with people, with patients. I mean, for me to educate them enough for them to do what I would like for them to do, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, they go to a doctor for an ailment. The doctor doesn't have to educate. He just says, "Here, take this."
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
See ya.
People like that too.
And they do
like,
that.
oh, good. I can take this and I'll be fine.
Also, once you educate them having the self discipline to be able to actually like stay the course.
Right. To keep up with it. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to talk more about this or?
Something I do want to mention is because we're talking about frequencies and frequency machines, there is also a big caution that I want to make to the public, and that is if there's so many frequency machines out there now, because it's like the rave, frequencies and frequency machines, but the public doesn't know how to determine one company from another, one good frequency machine from another.
Yeah, for sure.
And I have seen harm done in certain frequency machines.
Oh, okay.
What kind of harm can you look for?
There are certain frequency machines that are created. I'm not going to name any names, but they'll emit RF radio frequencies. Okay, and anyway, that can harm the metabolic system, and it can cause a person to really feel sick. And it's not the kind of sick where they feel a detox overload or toxin overload.
Yeah,
it's not the Herxheiming type of sick. Okay, and then there's certain low frequencies that can actually feed the bad cells. Okay, and feed tumor growth. Okay, but who knows what they are, but there's so much out there that people want, it's like people go to a doctor, they want one pill to fix the problem. Yeah. It's like they want a frequency machine that promises a bunch of things. Yeah. And they want to push a button and say, oh, it's easy. But then the person who's using it doesn't understand the biology and electrical system and the chemistry of the body or the comorbidity of the person. They don't even take health histories. And it's like, what do you do?
So you really got to be thoughtful about what frequency and what device you're putting out there.
Yeah. So you look for an integrity of the company. You look for the company's, not the marketing verbiage, but you look at their scientific research. And I'm just going to say, I mean, the ones that I've used for 21 years is Pulse Tech Research, and they come out of Romania. Yeah. And they've been doing this. I mean, the developer has been in frequency medicine probably since the 1970s.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Cool. Okay.
Yeah. And
well, that's good advice.
And I've been using, and I've had people, I have tried different ones. Okay. And I've been just out of curiosity, and I look into different ones and all that. And I just have to say, theirs is bar none the best.
Well, that's good. That's great advice. I mean, because, viewers who are just now watching this and learning about it, like myself, jump on Amazon.
I found a cheap one.
Don't do
$30 bucks.
Don't do that.
Yeah. So here's the thing is that the machine, they have the kind of research and the kind of testing they do is if you got a waveform, there's waveforms that emit square waves, ramp waves, spike, and sine waves. But if you don't have a certain machine, like say an oscilloscope, that where you can actually see the crispness and the exactness of the waveform, then all you're doing to a person's body, it's like a fuzzy radio channel.
Okay. So does that mean they're not getting all of the benefits of it?
They're not
or is it disrupting?
At all the benefits.
They're not getting any, got it.
If anything, any of the benefits. It could harm, certain metabolic systems.
Got it. Okay.
Anything, okay. But then, like I said, if it emits RF and then there's no education on that, then you're either not getting anything, or it could be harming some sort of other metabolic system in your body that you don't want it to harm. Just, okay, think about our bodies since we're frequencies and light. And the homeopathy is like attracts like.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how effective would it be if you had a frequency that you wanted to like attract something good in your life?
Yeah.
Okay. To do that, it has to match exactly.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you're kind of fuzzy, if your thought is kind of fuzzy, like,
that's a good point. Okay.
You know what? How effective is that really?
Yeah. So if you're
Makes
sort of
sense.
trying to attract, like, for instance, joy, and you're really trying hard to be joyful, but you're kind of grumpy and you're kind of having a bad day, it's like that frequency is not going to match what true joy is, right?
Yeah, because in your mind you'll be like, I'm joyful. I'm joyful.
Right.
But then you've got this negative thought that comes through. That's not joy. You're trying, but that frequency isn't really quite there. It's not truly attracting that.
That's cool.
Okay, it has to be like.
What is the optimal frequency again that humans should operate at?
Approximately 7.8 to 33.8. That's a Schumann resonance. Is 7.8 to 33.8.
And is that
hertz?
Megahertz?
Hertz.
Or just regular hertz?
No, it's hertz.
Well, I've heard about like music being performed at, is it 528? That's the hertz of love or the heart.
Yeah, there's different frequencies for music.
Right.
And that definitely can help heal the body, the soul, and all that. So yes, so you're right, but there's different frequencies.
Right. There's a conspiracy. You can look this up, Brett, that music was originally intended to be written and distributed as 528 hertz, I believe.
And Rockefeller downgraded
it, right?
Yes. And the allegement is, it's like 432.
Yeah.
And it alleges that, bands wouldn't be able to tune their instruments if it wasn't at 432.
Oh, okay. That was like the justification for it?
That's the justification for
Got
how
it.
you can have a band. But I know where your head's at. And what's also interesting, I was doing some research just now about radio waves, is that the last epidemic, I don't know if anybody remembers, was 1918. It was called the Spanish flu.
Yeah.
And that's when radio waves went widespread. And so I wanted to ask you what we're supposed to be operating at. And you said about 7 hertz to 33 hertz. Look at these numbers for radio waves and their frequencies. We're talking 300 kilohertz.
Wow.
300, and then all the way up to 3 gigahertz. Microwaves are a type of radio wave with frequencies ranging from 1 gigahertz to 30 gigahertz.
And
microwaves are used in communications.
And that's 5G.
That's 5G, and that's everywhere. And so it's like, and that was 1918 was kind of the development of influenza.
Yeah. So that's the heat.
Ooh.
That's the heat. That the inflammation. Heat is inflammation. Okay, that's the heat that can be created in our bodies.
Sorry, Mark. I keep cutting you off, dude. Can we talk about parasites?
We can talk about parasites. There's many of them. There's micro-sized ones. There's cell-sized ones. There's little ones. There's baby ones. There's worms of all sorts.
Housing and like all of that, right? So I'm doing a cleanse right now. And I'm day 3. Started it because of the full moon cycle. And didn't feel great at first, but I feel pretty good right now. Have been eliminating quite a few things. I'm doing a cleanse that
What are a few of the things that you've eliminated for the people?
You can't eat anything.
That's only for Patreon. We're gonna do
Patreon.
That's right, baby. What I do like about it though is it's so it's called the sanctuary cleanse. And what I do really like about it is it makes everything very intentional. For instance, day 1, we're kind of targeting kidneys. So they want you to kind of, put intention on the kidneys, how they feel, and then put intention on the emotion that goes along with that. So I think the kidney one is it love? Is it, no, it's,
Are you talking about fear?
Is it fear? Yes, it's fear. It's fear. So, and then like yesterday was, the heart, and then it goes down the list with all this, but I'm really curious to get your thoughts on the effectiveness of parasite cleanses. I mean, is doing one cleanse, what do you do, like once a year? Is that doing anything? Are we building up more? Like, what are your thoughts on this?
Yes and no to what you just said. We all need to do parasite cleanses, okay? But not one parasite cleanse captures all. And they're cyclical too. So just doing it once a year, then you've missed all 11 months out of that year where they had laid eggs and the eggs hatched, and then those newborns then grew to lay more eggs. Okay. So you never really get ahead. Okay.
Yeah.
But doing it on a monthly basis is probably.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Doing it on a monthly basis for 5 to 7 days is really what's more ideal. And that would be around the full moon cycle. Someone who's really ill, though, it's a lot more than that. Sometimes they may need to do it 7 days on, 7 days off, rotations for maybe about 5 to 7 months. And then after that, then they can just do 7 days a month for maybe, 6 to 8 months. And then after that, then, you can be more lax and maybe miss a month or two. But then just, it's chronic because we live in this world, and you eat out at restaurants, and then maybe you've acquired parasites for a lifetime and all of that. So you've got to, the more you do it, then the less then you kill that you have. The other thing, though, too, is you've got parasites that are worms, but then you have parasites that are, teeny tiny. So it's good to then have a variety of different herbs, some that are for the cell-sized ones or micro-sized ones, some that are for the worms and all of that. And if you don't know what they are, then do it all.
Okay.
But a lot of times when someone who's really sick comes to me, I actually check them for, other than bacterias and Lyme and viruses, because viruses can be very inflammatory. And if there's so much inflammation because of a viral load, then you got to take care of that viral load first because then if you start giving them herbs or parasites, they can feel really sick.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's something also to consider. And then also there's been some research that micro sized parasites it contributes to cancer, not only worms and not only fungus, but micro parasites. So that's why there's there's a rave now with things like, fenbendazole and ivermectin be anti-cancers. But it's not just that because it's for the worms and therefore those species. But what about the cell-sized, micro-sized parasites? Those species, they can also contribute to cancer and inflammation.
How do you treat those?
Well, there is other herbs such by Marco Pharma called that I use, and then there's some herbs by Systemic Formula and Bioactive. Those are for the smaller cell-sized ones.
Okay.
But for the worms and for some of the others, I may use fenbendazole and ivermectin. But then they will both treat different species. Okay. What I like about fenbendazole, it also has an inhibitory action towards the mutation of further cancerous cells.
Gotcha.
And ivermectin, is also has a dual purpose as well, but that dual purpose being that it can also be antiviral as well.
Right. Are there any parasites that are beneficial for us? Is there anything that?
Well, we'll always have some parasites. I'm not going to say that they're beneficial, but
they're just going to live there.
Yeah, and they can just coexist, without harming us and all of that. But it's those that a lot of people, especially when they are sick or they have a lot of inflammation, have that. But then, sometimes it could be fungus too. I mean, a lot of times, most people have a combination.
Yeah.
So then it's a matter of what do you attack first? Okay. And if you felt bad, then it's probably just because your liver was a little overloaded.
I think too, like they have you do like a day where you're just you're kind of only eating fruit and you're not eating a lot of calories. I was going from eating quite a bit to, doing smoothies here and there and that's it. And I think that kind of shook me a bit. But I mean, I will say once I got into it, once I started doing the protocol routine, I felt pretty good on it. So, I think it's a good thing to do. Good. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a good thing to do here and there.
Yeah. If you want to do that like once a quarter, that would be minimum.
Okay. Once a quarter. Okay.
The more we talk about cancer, the more it makes me think the reason we haven't found a quote unquote cure yet is maybe because there are so many things that cause it. It's not just one thing. It seems like maybe we're not supposed to find a cure for it, because this goes back to our idea of why we do this show, and it's to infect the culture, to make a change for the better in their daily lives.
And I think too, I mean, I think you were like spot on with that. And I think too, I think we're all so different that the same thing that is going to help Mark isn't going to do a thing for me.
Yeah, it's a combination of neglect.
Right.
Yeah. It seems.
Well, we're not supposed to, I mean, as scary as it is, we're not supposed to be here forever.
Right.
I mean, this is a
120 years.
A blink of an eye. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Our purpose is bigger.
No, I was even like thinking about that. I was like with a lot of these healing things, like we talked yesterday about stem cells, regenerative health, how beneficial that is for a lot of people. And I was even like thinking, I was like, man, it's such a bizarre process of like putting these, really new baby cells back into like the body and then having it like regenerate. I was like, should we be doing things like that?
Nah.
You know what I mean? Like you start kind of asking like ethical questions, and that's not to say that we should or shouldn't. I have no idea.
I like plant stem cells or using your own stem cells.
Okay.
But
plant stem cells?
There's,
I didn't. Okay.
Yeah, there's plant stem cells, and then also taking your own stem cells out, cleaning them up, in simple terms, cleaning them up and putting them back in.
Yeah.
But really, though, before you even go there, if you clean up your own internal environment,
right,
of the toxins and the pathogens, and your own thought life, and belief system, and then you clean up your external, do what you can with the external environment.
Right.
Your body is created to make its own stem cells.
Yeah.
The reason why it doesn't is because it has been overloaded with an onslaught of toxins and pathogens.
You're exactly right.
And the EMFs.
You're exactly right. Yeah, we talked about how if you do a 24-hour fast at I think it's 23 hours, the body starts producing its own stem cells. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that alone is, amazing. I mean, the body's meant to do that stuff. It's meant to regenerate. It's meant to, clear out crap. The problem is that we just put in too much crap and then it can't. And then it gets overloaded and works extra hard to do things that it can no longer do, So,
what's interesting too, talking about the internal stuff, I saw this research today, actually this probiotic called Lactobacillus reuteri, where if you've had antibiotics in the last 30 years, you have none in your gut. But a study of of every single person that they studied from a native indigenous tribe who has had really no contact with the modern world, they all have this bacteria in their gut.
Interesting.
And we supposedly had it before we obviously all had antibiotics. And so and then they showed you a way to make a yogurt to where you can get it back in. But it's one thing that's I'm going to have to try the yogurt, and I'll probably report back because they talk about an increase in strength. So now I know you're interested, Mark, and increase in overall health. But yeah, it's called Lactobacillus reuteri, and none of us have it.
My dad yesterday was telling me about fecal transplants.
Huh?
Have you heard about this?
Yes, I don't want to go there.
This is crazy. This is just, it seems like a really bad idea as a way to get some like different gut terrain going.
Diversity?
Nah.
Is that what to get? That's what it is?
Yeah.
Well, picture this.
It's for, Let me draw this out for you.
I know.
Health
She's
Nut.
like,
let's consult Health Nut on this one.
Yeah, right. What is Certified Health Nut have to say?
Please look that up later.
I love that he's our go-to.
I would love to get a reaction shot from
I would like to get
native or something on that.
Yeah. But man, just all kinds of things that we are doing, all kinds of crazy things that we are doing to try to clear up, years and years of neglect and damage and poor choices. And, it really does. It just reinforces this idea that, man, our health is up to us. It's not up to anybody else. I mean, all this, it's not up to your doctor, the company who's making cereals, the company who's making food. It's really, you have to work hard at health now. You have to work really, really hard at it and be very intentional about it. And I think that that's important, and that will make us feel that much better if we put intention on it. But it's tough. It's really, really tough right now.
Just the same way, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but just the same way we have to intentionally focus on our health and what we do, we have to also equally intentionally also focus on what God said.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
Absolutely.
You do.
Every day.
Yeah, you do. And it's hard
day.
work, but it's like we talk about. I mean, it's like everything that takes work is the most beneficial thing. Going to the gym.
Yeah.
Yes,
you can look like
hard.
Mark if you want, if you show up.
If you show up, or you can be like me.
No.
But you have to be intentional about it. Yeah. Every day. Die to the flesh, be intentional, pursue.
Yeah.
Pursue the Holy Spirit for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool. Should we land the plane?
Let's do it.
All right. Dr. Julia, thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome. It was a joy.
Yes,
it was a joy for us.
Love the conversation.
And we all know that if it's joy, we're operating at a super high frequency. So that's even better.
We're vibing.
We're vibing.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. We're flying.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe to our channel. Please like this video. Please share it with a friend. And we'll catch you guys on the next one.